right, so
Not
what is
really.
this residential center?
Oh, this is a place that the ministry owns. Well, not own. We're in the process of buying that. Yeah, we don't
So are
own
you
it yet.
renting to buy, or are you?
Yeah, we're leasing to buy.
You have that as an asset of $2,844,500. So do you own it?
I just answered that. I said we didn't own it.
Okay,
We're
but
leasing to
where
buy
does
it.
the, I'm sorry?
We're leasing to buy it. I thought we just said that.
All right, but
Yeah.
you have listed it as an asset worth $2,844,000.
Oh, that should be more of a liability.
All right, so where does the number $2,844,000 come from on your
That's the
asset and liability?
That's, I guess, the appraisal value of the home or the residential center.
Is it a home?
No, it's a residential center.
All right, so you're saying it's not something you own, but you have it listed as an asset of $2.8 million.
That's probably a mistake. Like I said, it probably should be a liability.
Okay, and what goes on at the residential center?
It is really it's a gathering place for our ministry where I bring in different leaders and also the staff that we have as a place of teaching.
Resort?
Yeah, teaching. Where we teach and train.
On November 29th, 2013, JMMI paid over $6,000 to Louis Vuitton.
Yes.
What would that be for?
Changing the world for the better. You know, it's important that you know that, because have you heard that crack is gone? Crime is down and oddly enough so is tourism. But you know, if I haven't said it before,
Clothing are allocated to us for ministry purposes as well.
What do you mean they're allocated to you?
You know, media ministry.
You know what?
Media ministry.
Yeah.
Okay, or on the road, when I'm always traveling and using my clothes, I'm sweating through them. So I'm needing new clothes also for television industry.
And so you use ministry money to buy your wardrobe.
Outfit.
Your
It's
outfit.
called, it's allocated more towards ministry.
Does that go into what your income is?
Also,
You show that in your income that you got Louis Vuitton clothing?
no, that's not.
That doesn't show.
Because it don't go there.
It don't go there. I don't know what that means.
It don't belong there. That's out of place.
What's out of place?
You don't get taxed on things like that. That's for ministry business purpose. So it's not.
Louis Vuitton.
Well, you can call it whatever you want.
Yes, it's true. I shit the bed. I actually wrote an entire essay concerning all the shame I felt, having shit the bed. I wanted to write an apology and offer some explanation of myself as well as my rather unfortunate actions. But after all the work put into my essay, it got deleted by a glitch and everything was lost. Much as I, too, was lost to this realm of pain and suffering where I pay rent after I shit the bed. Wow, I shit the bed. I still find it hard to believe that I really did that. But it did happen. I need to accept it, just as I need to accept that my essay is now gone forever. I guess it doesn't matter. And it didn't matter how important the essay was to me, or how hard I worked on it. I get it now. It was always doomed to failure. And fail it did. It failed miserably. It failed spectacularly. But that only happened once. Mostly it was just miserable. And it failed. Some might call it fate. I just think it sucks. I'd rather just call it mean names. It's so much fun to cuss. But I don't know. Maybe it was fate. I don't really care. Do you think it's okay if I use a cuss word? Will I get in trouble? Wiener. And so the essay failed. It failed just as every other such attempt has failed. You expect to fail. Those who explore the gloomy depths of this unceasing despair are not motivated by any expectations of success. No. All such explorers are in the grips of a madness so powerful that it compels them to be slavishly devoted to what they know in their hearts to be impossible. And so it was with me, diligently writing my essay. I had shit the bed. But now I was going to write. My life began to be centered around the work I was doing on this essay. Sure, there was a lot going on back then. I shit the bed. So I can't pretend times weren't tough. But the writing had become so important to me, I didn't really like to let my mental health issues stop me from working on my essay. So even on my worst days, I'm not really sure how I did it, but guess I just embraced the healing power of the writing process. I would just dive right in, and off I'd go. I shit the bed. So yes, of course, it could get scary sometimes. But I wasn't gonna let that end my exploration of despair, however murky the waters, how unfathomable their depths. So I'm not even sure how I feel about it now, but I am sure I was doing some very important work on myself. I don't think that could be denied. It's just that looking back, it's a lot of mixed emotions now. You know, it felt good to call the essay a wiener. But I was stuck on that essay and all these bizarre metaphors. Don't ask me, I shit the bed. Sure, laugh at me now, but I was hanging on by a thread at this point. And I was giving my best. If my best wasn't good enough for you, what was I supposed to do about that now? I get that you don't want to picture me snorkeling each time that I have mentioned my emotional problems. But what did you expect from me? Should I apologize I'd experienced depression in terms of the depths of my despair? Or was it the swimming you don't like? What is wrong with you? Who doesn't like swimming? Maybe I got it wrong. Maybe you're the wiener. Back to my essay. At this point, I'd really like to tell you that these were some of my hardest times. I'm proud that I never gave up. I'd be proud of you, if it was you that shit the bed. But I guess I already said things were rough, didn't I? Please don't get mad at me again. I'm sorry, it's just when I remember how I shit the bed, I can get myself pretty worked up. And I'm more than a little nervous to tell you how things started to change back then. It's a little terrifying, to be quite perfectly honest. But I suppose if I'm telling the story of this essay I wrote, that got deleted, I will have to bite the bullet and tell you the whole truth. And nothing but the truth is I really did put a lot of work into that essay and for a very long time. But at some point I just sorta trailed off, you could say. I mean, I wasn't ever gonna give up, or anything like that. I'm no quitter. But it reached a point that I was no longer doing much of what someone like me or you would really call exploring. Yeah, see. At this point it really was not so much exploring anymore. Not nearly so much as it was kind of a lot more like what you are. What you just call, sinking. The thing is, I'd always planned on drowning. So yes I was sinking, but that seemed fine. Why struggle to resist the depths of my misery, when I can just sink, sink, sink? Then you sink, and after that maybe sink for a while, and then you just sink some more, and then do some more sinking. So that was it. Sinking was totally my thing now, and honestly, I was just fine with that. Because I always knew that I would be drowning, by the end, if I got my way. I just never really had particularly strong feelings on the when of it all. So where exactly is the problem? Okay, I see a potential issue with spending all my time sinking. But that was my thing now, and my essay was still coming out just fine. What? You don't believe me? Fine. I'll tell you about what I was writing. I actually think it was some of my finest work, and was quite possibly my greatest achievement, until everything got deleted. It's hard to compete with that deletion bit. But yeah, I was writing a lot those days. It's hard to compete with that deletion bit. But yeah, I was writing a lot those days. I came up with some pretty convincing explanations to give people for why I'd decided to shit the bed. I'm most proud of those. Maybe I wasn't such a bad guy after all. Or at least 2 or 3 of my versions of events sure sound that way. And there was this other one I liked so much, after I wrote it in my essay, that I had started thinking of it as being the true story of what had actually happened. The bad news is I stopped being able to believe that story, even though it's still my favorite, because I eventually realized that I don't even have a pet cat. The good news is at this point I totally forget why I shit the bed. I seriously just have zero clue, whatsoever, what really happened now. I think that's pretty impressive, don't you? My stories were getting so good that I'd come up with a plan. I decided that once I finished writing 20 different versions of what had happened when I shit the bed, then I'd print them all out on a flyer. Because then I would never need to worry who knows I shit the bed ever again. And people can gossip all they want. All I need to do is print out enough of those flyers, then bring them with me, whenever I go different places, like parties no one invited me to. or the bus stop, or crime scenes, and stuff like that. Everywhere I go, I just hand everyone flyers. Problem solved. Oh, I forgot to tell you. The other thing I did back then is writing people apologies. I would write so many. I'd write one after the other. I loved writing apology after apology, back-to-back apologies, just for hours on end, at times. And this one time I wrote so many, that I made myself so dizzy that I'd kind of confused myself, I think. So I wasn't even sure where I was, at first, when I woke up on the floor. But I had so many questions. Hi. What's your name? Do you want some ground beef? Have you always lived here? Here, in the cracks between the floor tiles. Hello. Where did you go? Hello. What is Santa really like? What is my name? Do you think the hospital would ever let me perform a surgery, if I said I'll do it for free? Where did the man go who lives in between the floor tiles? Can you help me find the door? Why did I fall down? Again. Why call it menopause if it's not for men, so I'm not allowed to get it at Best Buy? And then if I go there anyway. And I insist, they just lie to me that the pause button doesn't even work. You finished with them nachos. How did you get such a rockin' bod? Hear anything cool on the police scanner tonight? All sorts of questions like that. But then, the most confusing thing of all was that it didn't even matter what I wrote. I still shit the bed. I still felt the same about it. I felt like shit. I was only writing this stupid essay because I shit the bed. And after all this work it still wasn't doing any good. That didn't make any sense to me. Every day, the essay was just looking better and better and better. And yet, every single day, I just felt worse and worse and worse. It is now appropriate to share more thoughts on the topic of drowning. I enjoy thinking about drowning. I think about it a lot. Someday I am gonna get myself drowned. But I don't mind waiting. I just know that it'll happen. So I'm in no rush. Shucks. I even have this one saying, as long as I'm drowned eventually, everything else must have gone according to plan. That's how I feel about it. I just can get a little bored sometimes, waiting around to be drowned. So then I think some more about drowning. And I'll often ask myself when I think I'm gonna drown. I like to make guesses. Of course, I don't really care where or even when I'm drowned. As long as it happens before I'm dead. But the guessing is fun. Right, and you gotta pass the time somehow. So then why shouldn't I be having some more thoughts on the topic? I just love to think about drowning. Yeah, I must admit, drowning sure is fun. And of course it is. But this is also something I take very seriously. I made plans. I know that I am going to drown. I just know I will. It's one of the few things I can know with real certainty. It's what life is all about for me. What do you think? Do I drown tomorrow? I bet I could if you'd help me. Wow, that just sounds like so much fun. Or you could go instead. Either way is fine by me. So what do you say? Maybe I'm getting too excited, but I sure wish you'd say yes. Yeah, I think I just got excited. I hope you're not mad. I just think about it so much sometimes, I get impulsive. I shouldn't be in any rush. I don't need to drown anytime soon. It's like I always say. As long as drowning is there, on your itinerary, at some point down the line, then you know things will be alright in the end. So no worries. Okay. I'm sorry, I wasn't gonna say anything, but I had to tell you, how earlier, when you'd called me a liar, I was so mad at you. I kept working on my essay, and I told you so. But you wouldn't believe me. So now I showed you. I bet you feel mighty foolish now. You have the proof. See, I told you. I kept working on my essay, and I'm not a liar. Anyway, it's alright now. I'd mostly just wanted to let you know that it took every last bit of self-control I could muster in order for me to resist the urge to call you a wiener again. Okay, so, you're welcome for that. I don't care what you think anymore. I'm not a liar. I think you're a dickhead. And now, this is the part of the story of writing my essay that something truly amazing happened to me. Ready? Okay. So let me set the stage. Everything was as I've described. I was done exploring for now. Most of my time was spent sinking. And when I was working on my essay, I was focused on completing the stories I'd need for the flyers I was going to try handing out. Everywhere I went, that idea for a flyer was, by far, the best thing going for me, at this point in time. I just didn't have much else, besides all the hours spent sinking. I kinda wanted to drown, but it didn't seem important. The one big problem in my life was that something had gone seriously wrong with my plan for the flyer. The thing was that it had been a very long time now, since I forgot what really happened when I shit the bed. And I didn't mind. But I suddenly realized that I had been writing so many stories for the flyer. Any one of these stories I wrote, since I forgot what happened, could actually be the real one. What if I had remembered all the details of what happened, but just forgot the story is real? I'm not sure. I could have already written it all down for my flyer, thinking it's another one of my stories, but really it was the truth. So now, it seemed to me that I had inadvertently forfeited the ability to leave the truth out of my stories with any sort of certainty. I'd begun to question the wisdom of my plan. And the worst part was that I couldn't write any new stories for the flyer without risking that my new story was the truth. If my flyers end up telling people the real reason I shit the bed, then they were useless to me. Not owning a cat had turned out way worse than I thought. I couldn't keep writing anymore, so then I just had lots of sinking, and an eventual drowning. Things had never been worse in my life. Except, of course, that one time I mentioned before, when I'd shit the bed, because that's obviously the worst. And that's when it happened. I got my miracle. It was such an ordinary day. I think it was raining. I don't really know if it was raining, actually. I bet it probably wasn't. I'm sorry I said anything. It doesn't really matter, but now I have no idea how to set the mood. What? Are you gonna be a dickhead again? Look, I remember now. Okay, I was inside that day. So that is why I don't know what the weather was like. Are you satisfied? I remember it just fine. So there, I spent all day sinking. I just kept sinking, further and further, into a deep abyss of unfathomable despair, when I suddenly got an idea. Maybe I should get a cat. I don't know if it's legal to declaw them where I live, but would kinda need to for the sake of a piece of moral grandstanding on the cruelty that's clearly involved in depriving cats of their claws in order for this story of how I shit the bed to come together. So there I was, though. I was sinking. Then I'd do some more sinking. And I was thinking of getting a cat. When it finally hit me, it was as if I had been hit by lightning. This is a metaphor, so please don't get on my case about the weather again. I may have been near a window, but that's besides the point. I never saw it coming. I was kind of distracted. I just spent a lot of time, back then, sinking deeper into further abysmal depths of my despicable misery. And this wasn't really a hobby I pursued in order to achieve any sort of progress of any kind in any area of my life. But I sure liked sinking. It was my favorite thing to do. I just didn't even give it much thought, at this point. I don't remember looking out the window, okay? Thank you for dropping that. Sinking just made me think about drowning. That's the kind of stuff I'd be mulling over when I was doing my sinking. So, yes, on a typical day, I'd be sinking into despair when I'd find myself wondering when exactly I might end up drowning the way I've always planned things to go. That's about it. And so I never expected this. It was just never supposed to happen. Especially not like this. Because this was something so very special. But all I did that day was my usual sinking. So I was just sinking away. Steadily sinking deeper into what had become my quite comfortable sense of despair and general ennui. That was all very normal for me. If I was gonna sink, I'd usually end up sinking pretty far. Mama didn't raise no quitter, and in my hood we don't do things halfway. Word to your mother. She's a lovely woman, I'm sure, who learns from mistakes to grow as a person. By devoting such energy to the development of her child. Okay, I just never meant to question her parenting skills. But I'd started to get a weird vibe from you, like I was being judged. So I'm just clarifying. I do get pretty low on most days. But this must be when it got unusual. I can't be sure how it happened, but I suddenly realized that I had been sinking so far, so deep into a pit of despair, that I'd somehow arrived at an all-time low. It was, in fact, a historic low, in what now amounted to a full-blown career, spent diving for what's lowest. And in all the time I'd spent sinking into the unfathomable depths of such unspeakable anguish, lost in what seems to be little more than an endless journey. Further into hopelessness, no matter how devoted I'd been, in giving myself to the experience. Unparalleled in the sheer pointlessness of the nearly everything I'm willing to commit to. You'd think that this would set me apart. A pioneer to be exalted for such a commitment to my own personal sense of shame and the way such homeostasis creates a perpetual motion machine continually aiding in the creation of what amounts to nothing less than my own personal hell. And yet I'd never found previously unlocked the barrier established by the paradoxical role of mediocrity and forgettable stupidity in being a complete and utter loser beyond compare. So I'd never been able to hit this kind of a low before. I honestly thought this kind of thing was impossible, but I could feel it was true. I didn't do anything differently. Like always, I just allowed myself to sink. Just the usual sinking I do on any other day. I had no special plans, and I kind of would prefer to drown, but only if there was no real effort involved. Because I've never been in any rush for that to happen. And yet, everything felt so different now. I had reached depths that I had previously considered unreachable by any means known to man, and yet I could feel it in every fiber of my being, as if struck by lightning. I'd like to elaborate with further colorful descriptions of what it felt like to reach this new low, and thus paint a fuller picture of such a remarkable achievement. But I'm worried you'd complain to me again about the metaphor. In particular, I anticipate the accusation that I am now somehow forcing you to visualize me snorkeling. But, honestly, if any of that shit's happening to you, in your own goddamned imagination, I sure am as sorry as I can be about this. But it still does fucking sound a hell of a lot like your problem and not mine. In fact, all of it just really pisses me off, because at this point, we've been over this already. I shouldn't even need to think about this shit. And I sure as hell got a whole lot better things to do with my time, you fucking dickhead. So, not for nothing, if you haven't fucking noticed, not only did I try to keep mentions of swimming to an absolute minimum, I'd also like to point out that I had never even said a single goddamn fucking thing about shitty snorkeling being involved. In my exploration of the unknowable void, that pulls me further into the depths of an abyss of seemingly infinite proportions, although the ocean floor would surely suffice to crush my body into an unrecognizable, oozing mass, hideously deformed by the pressure felt, sinking to such depths that my existence will have ceased, aside from a meaty pulp that will slowly decompose. Over the eons, trapped on this miserable planet, until the supernova finally brings all this pointless suffering to an abrupt halt. So don't talk to me about snorkeling equipment. I'll readily admit that it could come in handy, at times, if I'm just casually sinking and not quite ready to be drowned that day. But I didn't even go there, at least not until I was forced to answer criticisms of how I choose to employ metaphor. This is about that flyer I need, not you, and whatever bullshit you make up. And now my moment is ruined. How do I end this? I'm just so goddamn sick of you now. Think how well composed I was before you got to me. In this way I've become so familiar with, and you must love to do. It's probably more of the same sorts of ploys for attention you utilize with family, and then sexual partners you did kinky shit with. I wish I never heard about any of it, you perv. You robbed me of my innocence. Sure, I enjoy cussing, but it was only for fun. I just like to say wiener. It's just my usual thing. In fact, you know what? I think I will just get back to that now, and then tell you the rest later. Hit me up if you changed your mind about one of us drowning. It actually sounded cool, if it was both of us. But that's just a heady dream, to die together. I'm not too sure I'm even into that sort of thing. It's too weird. But we can just talk later. I'm tired. At least one thing's for sure. I have shit the bed. It's pure shit. Good night.
We don't give a fuck about those. We don't really say things, no. We don't say hello. We say goodbye, no. Know what you know, they flow. Come say that amphetamine. Got that amphetamine. Got that amphetamine. Feeling amphetamine. Feeling amphetamine. Feeling amphetamine. Amphetamine. Feeling amphetamine. Amphetamine. Feeling straight to the face solo. So cold. Got a piece of a great polo. Please just appease me. See, can't keys you. See, send assist order. Sorry, disorder, source to the fifth order, or vindicated quarter, poured up the 6 cents, pour through the sword, form a floor, tell the tippy toe, rolled up a showboat, soak up my whole flows, murder she wrote, lips to the pipe tight, she on my dick right, V's on my VC, please on the sheets white, she showed me the bite, leaking amino acid, I'm amino bastard, and my penis flaccid, I eat the rations, meet the masses, the meat is rancid, I'm the Peter Sampras, keep the cancer in the Vito mansions, it's a leader's fashion. Fist keep cashing, the beat basket, all the heat. VP to a cheek on the street creep. Reap what I saw him in the beat, then I saw him in a week. We freak to defeat these retards. And the B-side, it don't seem right. Seems like I need life, free like a beast type. Beast sting to the free on gases. We so massive, this lead so passionate. We don't really about like that. We don't give a fly about that. We don't wing pack. We don't feel the time of the pack. I don't to the rap like that. I'ma say hey, hey, no goodbye. We don't want pop with a better in the sky. I don't like bye. We don't ride. I'm better than my eye.
It's got 2 flavors, and then there's this little switch on the bottom. Flip that. Let's switch the flavor.